Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 116. And what we do every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific time is we have a live show where we start off and we have a topic that we think is going to help you guys become a better player or grow yourself in terms of your skills. And when we're doing that topic, which I will reveal to you in just a second, I want you guys to start sending us your questions. So anything basketball related, it can be shooting, passing, dribbling, defense, how to talk to your coach, how to develop your athleticism, whatever it is, we will jump on that question and we will try our best to answer as many as we can, and we will shout you out in the process. Also, during that time, please go out and tell your friends and family to watch this show because it helps us grow the team and it helps us do more cool things. Also, after we finish that, our topic that we have for today, we're going to have you guys stick around and we will finish off with the Q&A. So we will ask you guys questions then and answer them. And also make sure that you're subscribed to us on everything that we do. We have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have Snapchat, we have Facebook, we have Google Plus, and subscribe to us on YouTube so that you can get us on every single place that you might find us, and we will help you as much as we can to make you a better basketball player. There was something else I was going to say, and I can't remember what it was. But oh man, it was probably important too. It'll come to me. But while I think about that, let's jump into our topic for today. Our topic for today is we're going to talk about your shooting, and we're going to talk about kind of our philosophy on your shooting release. So a lot of times people talk about you want to flick your wrist. You know, there should be a real prominent flick when you release the ball because that's going to give it the backspin and all that stuff. We don't necessarily believe that, or maybe it's just the terminology that annoys us, but we have a different thought on it. So why don't you jump in on that one?
Yeah, for a long, long time, from the time I was a young guy and until, well, probably still today, a lot of coaches will tell their players that they want them to flick that wrist or snap the wrist as they finish. And the idea there is to put more rotation on the basketball. Well, more rotation in the basketball is something that we're not really in favor of. And the reason for that is that the faster that ball spins, the more likely when it runs into the rim that it's going to result in a longer rebound because as that ball spins, it has captured energy that is in the rotation of that basketball. And so when it runs into something solid like the rim or even the backboard itself, that energy is going to be expended to a certain degree. And when it's expended, then that usually results in the ball being cast away from the backboard of a longer distance you really want. The one thing that we really like about using the flop finish, which is just a relaxed finish with the wrist and fingers, is that we impart less rotation on the basketball. We don't want a lot of rotation. And so when we are talking about flopping, we're talking about that release should be just a real relaxed follow through. Now, how much energy and whatnot?
Well, I mean, let's talk a little bit about tension and stuff a little bit more.
Sure.
So one of the things that we always see when people are shooting is, there's little micro things that kind of make your shot be a little bit off or not kind of give you the optimal release or make your shot not efficient. One of those things is definitely kind of tension in your muscles. And, a lot of tension can just be relieved by your mind telling your muscles to chill out, and you can kind of relax your muscles and be able to do that. But there are several things that will make you have tension in your shot. One of those is trying to flick your wrist. Yeah. I mean, if you even just do it, I mean, you can feel it. I mean, there's tons of tension in your forearm, there's tension in your hand, and you impart that onto the ball, which makes it more live and there's more energy bound up in the ball. And when you think about the flight of the ball, and especially when it hits kind of its ultimate target, you don't want that to have a ton of energy in it at all, because if it does, it hits that and it's going to expend that energy and ricochet off.
It's going to make a longer rebound. That's what's going to happen. Yeah.
Well, not even just longer, but it's going to be more live.
Yeah.
And when you're thinking about shooter's touch, and people always talk about shooter's touch, or the ball has fingers, or it's sticky, or whatever they say about it. That's like when the ball bounces off the rim or the backboard and it has a tendency to stay around and give you a second, third, fourth chance, whatever that is, just bouncing around. Yeah. If your shot is super live, And that could be because you flick the wrist and there's tons of backspin on it, or it could be because you have a flat shot and the ball just is going, straight into the rim or whatever it is. Those are things that will make it so that you don't have that second chance for the ball to go in. If you watch people like Stephen Curry or Klay Thompson or any of these great shooters, Ray Allen, whoever, they have their ball is like very, very gently hitting the backboard of the rim, if it ever does at all. And the result of that is it stays around the rim. So you actually are going to increase your shooting percentage if you have a softer, more gentle ball. So when we're talking about flicking and people are trying to get all this backspin on the ball, backspin does stabilize the shot itself, right? The flight of the ball.
Yeah.
But too much of it will make your shot less accurate because it will be more live.
Yeah, exactly.
And so our thought on it is that instead of flicking, you want to have that very soft, gentle flop. And if you watch people like, you always see like those classic Michael Jordan moments, or even Steph Curry now and Klay Thompson, Ray Allen, Steve Nash, especially when he's shooting free throws and stuff. I mean, you can see like when they release the ball, it's not like that, and their wrist just snaps like that. It's not like that at all. It is a very gentle flop finish. And if you watch our super slow motion video using the Phantom camera, you can see, I'm one of the people demonstrating, and then we have Rachel that's demonstrating as well. And you can see that our hands just flop at the end. You see it boom, boom, boom like that as the camera catches it in slow motion. And what that does is that when you release the ball off of your fingers, instead of flicking, which is going to make the ball just spin like crazy, the flop is going to impart that kind of stabilizing backspin, but it's going to be at a much slower rate. Right. And so when it actually hits the rim or backboard, it's going to hit it and make the ball kind of stop and bounce instead of bounce away from the rim. You want it to bounce on the rim and stay there.
Yeah, live balls are going to create long rebounds. And the one thing that's really important for me anyway is the fact that when you get the nice arc coming to the basket and a soft rotation on the ball is going to tend to stay around the basket like Casey's talking about. And the more it can stay around the basket, the more opportunities it has for it to eventually fall into the basket.
And you mentioned another thing. And you guys always need to keep in mind that there are so many different components to your shot that need to be in place for your shot to be efficient, accurate, and repeatable.
Yeah.
Actually, repeatable and then accurate. But having a nice high arc is good, and there can be too much, and there can definitely be too little. So you have to find the perfect medium of that as well. And we talk about that in some of our other videos. But then you also have to have things like having a nice gentle backspin, because that's going to, once the ball gets there from the arc and it hits the rim or backboard, if it has the nice arc and it has the gentle backspin, then it's going to have the tendency to stick around. So you need to have kind of both of those components. And there's things like being able to discern distance and tons of different stuff like that that all kind of account for the formula of a good shot. So this is just one of those things. Yeah. You have to have all of those things in place, right?
Yep, absolutely, yes.
So how do you work on this kind of stuff? Well, a good way to work on it is just to go out there and just kind of, you can just pretend like you're shooting without the basketball, I think is the best way to start.
Well, that probably works really good. But one of the things that happens,
just working on loosening up your wrist.
Just loosening the wrist.
I'm not saying to go out there and that's going to make you a good shooter. I'm saying if you've never really worked on this stuff and you need to figure out kind of how to get that floppy wrist, because a lot of people, they'll go out there and they, maybe they don't have the control over their body that some other people do, or it's one of those things they've just never done. But you got to go out there, and sometimes like it's natural to flick, but you don't want to do that. You want to work on relaxing all the muscles all the way through your arm and hand. And this is one thing that we do say all the time too, is that your lower body, your lower chain, your legs, your core, and all that stuff, that accounts for the power generation of your shot, right? But the upper body is kind of the finesse, the kind of accurate guidance system for your shot. So you don't want to use power from your upper body to get the ball where it needs to go. That should come from your lower body, and a little bit of it comes from your upper body, but most of that is just kind of guiding the ball into where it needs to go in the basket. Right. And so you don't want to have your tension and power in your upper body, because that's going to make your shot less repeatable and less accurate.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Let me add something here too, is that one of the things that we find is that when you start trying to learn how to relax your wrist, and we start with people right off on that, because that's probably the most difficult element of shooting, is to get to the point where you can just relax that wrist. People want to shoot the ball softer. And it's not about softness. It's what it is just slowing that rotation down. And we slow the rotation down by relaxing those fingers and the wrist at the end. And that relaxation process takes about 3 to 4 weeks of people working on it pretty good before it starts to show up. Well, and be an important part of the shot on a regular basis.
If you're in real bad shape, it might take that long.
Well, typically it does. People who are working on it, some people can pick it up a little shorter time than that. Others struggle.
And here's another component of it too, is people are saying you should point fingers down and you should do all this stuff with your fingers. Mm-hmm. That's not what you want to be doing at all. What you want to do is focus on the relaxed flop finish. The ball should come off of these 2 fingers last. And when you release, it should just be a flop, a very relaxed flop.
Right.
You shouldn't be pointing down. You shouldn't be doing anything like this. That adds tension. I mean, you can do this with your hand. I can feel tension all through my arm when I do that. If you flop it, there's no tension. And essentially what's happening is the ball's up here. This is my kind of pivot point right there. And all that happens is your hand just flops over the top of your wrist. And if you can get it as relaxed as possible, you're going to be in good shape. When you start doing things like pointing fingers and doing all this stuff, that's going to be a real problem. And, there's a lot of people that say that pro players do this, or the pro guys say that they do this. It's not the case. If you look at their shots, and sure, if you freeze frame it as their flop comes down like that, then you will see, yeah, there's a finger pointed down. But if you watch the whole thing in context, then you'll see that that's only one frame of the whole thing, where they actually, if you do it, you'll see that their whole hand is just very relaxed and very bouncy.
Yeah, well, in looking at the slow motion video of the release, you'll find that the fingers, when they're relaxed, those fingers are actually very, what's the word I want to use there? They're very supple. They're moving up and down. They're not necessarily all together, but want to bring the ball off the first 2 fingers and watch that slow motion video and you will see what we're talking about there.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to fully explain exactly what it looks like, but if you slow it down and you you can look at our phantom footage, you can look at the NBA shooters footage, or wherever you find it, you will see that there's a very pronounced flop of the fingers.
Yeah.
When you start doing snaps and all that stuff, and you can do this test yourself right now as you're watching us or listening to us. If you try to snap it, put your hand right here on your forearm, and you can feel the tension. If you flick, you can just feel it. I mean, I can feel it's like cramping my arm right now trying to do that. But if you do it with the flop, there's literally no tension at all. I can barely feel the muscles really doing anything. And that's where you want to be, because that's going to be repeatable and it's going to be consistent for you. And it's just going to make your shot not only more accurate, because it's going to be a gentler shot that stays around the rim, but also because you're not loading yourself with all this tension.
Yeah. To kind of underline some of this, there was a study, and I think it was back in the middle 70s. I remember seeing it years and years ago. And the study was talking about what would be the optimum rotations of the basketball from the free throw line. And what they determined was is that from the free throw line, the ball should make only about 2 complete revolutions on its way to the basket. And of course, it's probably going to make a little bit more if it's got a little bit more arc. But the idea is to not have a really rapid rotating basketball. And that situation said is that the other thing I thought was kind of interesting, we use this a lot, is the fact that that shot should take about 1.5 to 2 seconds to get to the basket. Now, we're talking about from the free throw line. And so if you're a little bit further out, let's say you're beyond the 3 line, then probably that rotation is going to be probably in the 3.5 rotations. And we never are watching that while we're shooting. I oftentimes will have a shooter that I'm working with watch their rotation for a half a dozen shots, just so they can see what that shot is doing. And then it's right back to focusing on the target and not watching the basketball in flight.
Yeah.
And one of the things too is, as you watch Curry in different slow motion clips and things like that, you will see his wrist come through nice and soft. And you can always tell whether you can see the wrist or not. If you can see the rotations on the basketball, you can tell whether he had a relaxed finish on it or not, because it's going to be spinning a lot slower.
Yeah.
And his does.
And one of the most frustrating things for us is, people are always asking us how to become better shooters and shoot from further away. And then there's other people that come in and offer their advice, and they say, well, go work on doing some tricep extensions and some curls and all this stuff. But that is the worst thing that you can do for your shooting, is try to make your upper body the power generator.
Yeah,
you don't want to do that. And if you watch a guy like Steph Curry, all of his power he is generating from his lower chain, his legs and his core and his butt. All of that stuff is really generating all his power. And the fact that he doesn't have to bend his knees as far is just because he's done that movement so many hundreds of thousands of times. He actually knows how to do it without having to go way down into his bend of his knees. But if you do that and you use that power generator like that, and everything is connected from your feet all the way to your finish, you won't need to have to heave the ball or anything like that. And then that kind of opens up your upper body to be the guidance system, which you want it to be, because that's where all your fine kind of focus is going to be when it comes to locking in your target and the release of the ball. And you can imagine if there's just like a centimeter off on your release, then the shot's going to be missed.
Sure.
And if you're trying to generate power from your upper body, you're just creating another variable for that to happen.
Right.
You want your upper body to just be guiding the ball. It's just going to be a very gentle, relaxed upper body where you're generating power from down low, and then everything up top is going to be all about getting the ball, guiding the ball, and making sure it's nice and soft. Right?
Exactly. One of the things that's really awesome about Steph Curry and Klay Thompson both is I don't think anybody gets the shot off faster than they do anywhere in the NBA or any place I've ever seen. They catch and shoot so quickly. Their shot is so efficient. It's almost impossible to get to them to block the deadgum thing.
And that's what makes your shot quicker and faster is efficiency.
Efficiency.
It's not rushing anything.
Well, and not adding elements to it that create time loss. And allowing the defensive person to get into you and maybe deflect the basketball.
Right.
Just that efficiency is just, really, really awesome.
All right. Now we're getting off topic a little bit. So let's wrap up the finish on your shot. So we want to really reinforce with you guys that having the flop finish is really what you want to strive for. Kind of move away from using the term flick and flicking the shot in your shooting, because
snapping.
Flicking, snapping, whatever it is, don't do it, because you will add tension to your shot. You want to flop. You want that shot to be nice and soft, because that'll make it sticky at the rim.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. So if you guys have more questions about that, let us know, and we'll try our best to kind of clarify. But hopefully that kind of sheds light on why you should do that. And if somebody says snap, flick, or whatever it is, tell them no, flop. Okay. So let's jump into the questions for today. And if you guys want to ask questions, all you have to do is tweet them at us. We are at Shot Science, or you can leave them here in the chat. We're going to give priority to the people that tweet to us. And we will shout you out if we ask your question. And you can also follow us on all our social sites: Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Google+. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and go tell your friends and family to check us out. Let's see. Let's jump into some of these. Okay, this first one is from Callie Wallets in the chat, who says, "Is squaring your feet up a better shot than slightly turning your feet?"
Well, we're only going to take and tell you what we think and why. We think that you should take and stagger your feet. And the reason you stagger your feet is that it gives you better balance than if you have your feet squared away. That's one of the major concerns.
And when you say slightly stagger, that means you're turning a little bit towards your shooting side and favoring that a little bit.
You're favoring. We really like to see the shooting shoulder forward. And so by staggering your feet, that gets the shooting shoulder forward, but it also gets the ball more in front of your shooting eye. Now, when I say in front, maybe we're a low set point or we're a high set point, but it's lined up with our shooting eye. Oftentimes what happens is that if we're shooting and we square our feet up, this hand comes around and it's in front of your shoulder, your shooting shoulder. And that's like trying to point a pistol with the gun out here and be accurate. So we like the idea that when you turn, that hand and the ball comes right in front of your shooting eye.
Well, I mean, think about this. Your arm is not right in the middle of your body, right?
No.
You don't have unless you have some weird deformity, your arm is not growing out of your chest. So and shooting is typically, if you think about it, it's going to be a one-arm shot. I mean, you definitely, if you drop this assist hand out and you're just shooting with your strong hand, it's a one-arm shot. And all that other hand does is kind of apply a little bit of help in holding the ball at the set point. Yeah. Other than that, it's a one-handed shot.
Well, if that hand stays on there very long, this thumb right here corrupts the shot.
That's something else. Okay. But,
come on now.
Okay. So anyways, the point of that is if you were shooting a two-handed shot, yes, you would be completely squared up. That would make sense, but you're not. You have a strong side. And so what this does, that slight stagger, it puts your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder, your hip, your knee, and your ankle on that shooting side all in line. And so when you do that, the ball is in line as well. And so you line that up with the basket and you're going to be in really good shape. If you're trying to square up and do that, then you're going to have a hard time because you're going to have to jam that shoulder in there. And again, that adds tension. Yeah. And it also makes it hard to get your hand where it needs to be too. So we don't like that. Yeah. Go check out our videos on that and you'll see that we talk about that all the time. Yeah. The other thing that we want to make sure that we reinforce too is that you don't want to do that turning while you jump in the air on your shot. You want to be in that position as you start your shooting. So your feet should already be there as you go in from using proper footwork, have that slight stagger turn already set. If you're turning in the air, again, that's another variable that can go wrong.
Well, it's an element that could corrupt the shot. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully that helps you on that one. Let us know. Okay. This one is from Swaggy So, who says, how can I go from a freshman, sophomore basketball player to a varsity player? I'm a decent shooter and solid ball handler. I'm a sophomore. I'm really skinny, but I've been able and successful to gain weight in the past. I'm not super quick or fast. What should I do? Okay, this is super easy. Mm-hmm. The answer here is just work on developing your all-around game.
Sure.
People get caught up in position play, like I need to play point guard. I need to do it. Worst thing you can do. It pigeonholes you and it makes you less valuable as a player. Or they get caught up in, I'm too skinny, I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm too slow. Okay, whatever. That doesn't matter either. I mean,
well, you have to play with what you got.
Yeah, and there's things that you can do. And just gaining weight does not make you a better player.
No.
You could put on huge muscles and you'd still be the same basketball player you were before, because your skills haven't developed. Skills are what take you furthest in basketball.
Yep, they really are.
That's why guys like Kevin Durant and any of these other super skinny guys, Anthony Davis, whoever it is, they're able to excel at the highest level despite being outweighed by guys by 60, 50 pounds, whatever.
Yeah.
It's their skills that carry them much further. There are things you can do. And, when it comes to developing athleticism and quickness and vertical jump and all that stuff, that's great. And I think you should look into that and do body weight exercises and do interval training and check out our vertical jump videos for all of that kind of stuff. But don't waste your time in the weight room unless you're maybe 17 or 18 years old or going into potential college program or something like that, because it's a waste of your time. The guys that have the skills are the ones that are going to move on to the next level. Yeah. You need your skills to speak for yourself. You could go in and you could spend the entire summer working in the weight room and find out that it was for nothing because your skills didn't come up along.
Yeah. Your skills are what it's all about. There's no question about that. And it's great that maybe you have some athleticism, but it doesn't make any difference. The fact that you don't weigh an awful lot. Often those guys who don't weigh an awful lot often are much craftier. They're much quicker. Take and go with what you got and spend time developing skills.
Yeah, the bottom line is develop your skills, because the amount of time it takes to invest in weight training and all of this, gain weight stuff that people do, it would be better spent trying to develop your skills.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. This one is from Max Eckert, who says, should I stretch before or after the game? Does it have any effect in general? Okay, we have opinions on this because my brother Chase, he's a clinical physiologist and has his master's in exercise science and all that stuff. And so he's kind of the guy that we go to on this. And I think Alan Stein would say the same thing: is that you'd never want to go in and do static stretching cold. And static stretching is just like walking in and just starting doing this stuff and holding it and doing that. That's not good because your muscles aren't warmed up. So it's like, trying to stretch a cold rubber band. So what we say is maybe get the blood moving a little bit, jog around, maybe do some little layups or something like that, or start working on a dynamic stretching kind of program. And, we have that in our vertical jump videos.
It might be interesting to just define static and dynamic so that they understand that.
Yeah. Well, static is, like I just said, it's basically like you're just holding these stretches. So
stationary.
So this would be static. So I'm just sitting here, I'm holding it. This is 30 seconds have passed, I'm still holding it. Whereas like dynamic would be, maybe I'm going like this, I'm doing it, moving through these kind of movement patterns and stuff, or I'm doing some stretches. Or it's hard to demonstrate it right here, but dynamic means that it's moving. And so if you go and you watch our vertical jump series, you can see like there's a whole series of things that you can do that stretch you out while you're moving and warming up your muscles.
Right.
All right. So that's what I would say. And yes, it does have a good general effect.
It does have a positive effect.
Okay, this is from the Linus with a lot of L's, I's, N's, U's, and S's in the chat, who says, "Hey guys, I'm 6'1", 170-pound guy, and one of the craftier guys in the court. Also one of the taller ones, but I still struggle to finish around the hoop against taller players. Any tips would help. Greetings from Germany. Keep up the good work." Well, hello from California.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah, if you're one of the craftier guys, I think what the answer is that you just have to be crafty with those guys as well.
Well, the thing that I would recommend is to go to our finishes at the rim. And in that particular video, we talk about how you deal with having to attack those guys who are bigger than you. And I think there's 8 or 9 finishes at the rim that we detail on.
And you want to pick a few that are kind of that work for you, and then have counters of those moves. Yeah. And here's the other thing too, is that people always get caught up in thinking that they have the disadvantage because they're shorter or they're skinnier or whatever. And we talk about this a lot. The fact of the matter is you have no control over your height. You're going to be whatever height you are. So you might as well learn to live with it and figure out that there is advantages to being not maybe the tallest guy. You're 6'1", you're going up against guys, let's say that they're 6'5" or something like that. Those guys are looking at you thinking, that guy's 6'1". I bet I could block every shot that he takes. So use that against them. When you get the ball down low, give them a shot fake, get him in the air, because he's going to jump every single time because he knows he's going to block you. Get him in the air and then go up, put the shot in, finish. You get the N1, you get to go to the free throw line. He gets to walk off with his foul. It's really that easy. Yeah. Or you could just worry about being 6'1" and he's already taken you out of the game.
Yeah.
So stop focusing on that stuff. Start focusing on the fact that you can manipulate those guys using the advantages that you have.
And watch the video finishes at the rim.
Yeah. And we talk about that, having the shot fake and things like that as well. Okay. Everything Apple Pro says, my shot is kind of weird. Well, it sounds like you've identified the problem, or maybe you've just identified that there is a problem, and either you need to go through and figure out what that is, or we can help you with it. I would say go check out our video series called Fix My Shot, I think is what it is. Mm-hmm. Fix Your Shot. And we will help you diagnose and then fix whatever that issue is. I don't know what it is. Yeah. There's so many things that could be wrong there. Let's see. This one is from Emmanuel Robinson, who says, is rushing your shot good before the defender comes and guards you? Say that you're good, or you should you say that you're good, or should you take your time and shoot it in his face / her face? Okay. The thing about it is if you are talking about should you take a contested shot or an uncontested shot, what would the answer be?
Well, you certainly don't want to take the contested one. And, that's one of the things that I think is really hard for some players, especially young players, to determine whether there is a shot for them or not, because maybe they're taking too much time and getting the shot off. The defender is on them before they really realize that they didn't have a shot. So that's kind of a learning process to figure that out.
Let's make it even simpler. Okay. Is shooting, let's think about it in terms of variables. Is shooting with contesting defender a variable, or is shooting without one a contesting a variable? So if there's a guy there, is that an extra variable you have to worry about?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So the answer is yes. So you want to shoot shots that eliminate variables,
right?
Because that's going to have a higher yield in terms of your accuracy in your shot making. So if you eliminate that guy from the equation, that makes your shot easier, which is what you want. You want to take the shots that are the more accurate, more likely to go in shots.
Well, and going back here to what he's originally saying, is rushing your shot good before the defender gets there? No, that's not good.
I know. That's what I was trying to bring it back to variables.
Right.
So
the thing that you want to do is to quickly evaluate if there's a shot there or not. So like I said, you're going to have some time where you learn how to do that. If you are rushing, you're going to be inaccurate. You can almost bet on it.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say, is that having the guy contesting your shot, that's going to be a variable. And then rushing your shot is going to be another variable, because things are going to break down. Whether that's, your mechanics in your footwork, or if it's your mechanics in your release, something is not going to be great, and your accuracy is going to plummet.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is that you want to take shots that are efficient and are the shots that you're used to taking at game speed, and shots that aren't contested. I mean, obviously you're not going to get that every single time, but you want to really strive to take shots that are uncontested. And the way that you do that is through learning how to create space with and without the ball.
And be efficient on your stroke. Those things are real important.
All right, let's take one from Twitter. This one is from Virgil Kayabyab, who's at Burhell on Twitter. He says, what's a great workout I can do that can help me with increasing my shooting range? Well, that's a little bit of a general question. We would say, I think this is time to whip out the 3 pillars of practice, right?
Yeah.
So what we try to instill in people is that the 3 pillars of practice are how you should approach every kind of skill development that you work on. And the 3 pillars of practice are this. The first pillar is diligent, kind of mindful practice, where you've slowed everything down. You're working on getting the mechanics and everything kind of dialed in. And, that would be something like the form shooting drill, right?
Yes.
Pillar number 2 is game speed, game intensity practice. So you're taking the things from the first pillar and you're putting it into what would be a game-like situation. So maybe you have a defender step in. Maybe you imagine that a defender's there, but you're playing it at game speed instead of this slowed down kind of very diligent approach. It's going to be at game speed. You're gonna really amp things up, and like I said, the defender might be there. So then the third pillar is just game experience. So you're taking everything from the first 2 pillars and you're applying that to actually playing in a game. And that could be a pickup game, that could be your high school game, that could be a traveling team game, whatever it is. It's just racking up as much as that as you can in terms of applying that skill in that setting. And so if you're using those 3 pillars in your daily practice, and you got to use all of them all the time, consistently, then you will start to develop whatever skill it is you're trying to develop. And that could be ball handling, it could be defense, it could be passing, whatever it is. But that's how you need to kind of approach that. And so when it comes to developing your shooting, or like a shooting workout, first pillar should probably always be form shooting, because that's going to help you kind of diligently lock things in. Second pillar, it gets kind of a little bit more varied, and that could be, a lot of spin shooting and things like that. And if you go check out our buddy Dennis Stanton and his spin shooting workout, that would be a great approach to kind of that pillar. And then obviously the third pillar is kind of you on your own time working on game experience.
Yeah, just take it to the court. Yep.
Okay, so hopefully that helps you a little bit on that. This one's from Brent Hayden, who says, how do you get rid of the dip before your shot if you have to bend your knees before you shoot? That's easy.
Well,
do you want me to tell him, or
go ahead?
Okay, and jump in. But the thing is that you should be already working on your footwork and be down before you actually catch the ball or bring it up on the shot. So your footwork should start before the pickup or the catch. So you're down before any of this happens. So your knees will be bent before really anything begins in your shooting motion.
Right.
And so you never need to dip the ball down anywhere. It should really be that you are starting from a low position going to high. And if you got to come in and catch the ball and then do something with your footwork to get it in the right place and then go down and dip the ball, that's going from high to low to high. That's another variable that goes wrong, and that makes your shot way less efficient, way slower. So if you are starting off your footwork low, you're stepping in 1-2, catching the ball, and you're going straight up into your shot, there's no need to do anything but go straight up because you've generated the rhythm using your legs, and you're going straight up because you've already started from a low position going to a high position.
Yeah, and how do you get rid of the dip? That's kind of your question here. Well, one of the things you have to work on not dipping the basketball. And one of the things that we are really huge on, and Casey mentioned it too, is utilizing our footwork to create rhythm for the shot. Dipping, in our opinion, is really a rhythm generating kind of thing.
I mean, that's all it is.
Yeah, and the reality of it is that when you are taking the ball up and down, it is taking time away from you getting the ball ready to go.
And it's exposing it to the defense.
It's exposing to the defense.
And it is adding a variable to your shooting motion.
Exactly. Now, you take and watch Steph Curry or Klay Thompson, either one of them, when they catch the ball, they are net dipping the basketball. That thing is up and it's gone.
The only time they might do it is if they are catching the ball at a complete standstill.
Yeah, that's true.
And the reason for that is because they can't generate rhythm using their feet.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. We would say always step into your pass, always have proper footwork, or into your shot. Always step into your shot. Yeah. And because number one, that shortens the pass, but it also will get you your rhythm, and you won't have to do these extra mechanisms to try to generate rhythm.
Well, right.
Okay.
Now, well, enough on that one.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of our philosophy on that. And, everybody has different opinions, but we think that the logic behind that really pans out, and it works for everybody that we work with.
Yeah.
And if you think about variables and efficiency, I mean, there's no argument against it. Okay, let's see. Everything Apple Pro again says, hey, coach, will too much arc ruin your shot?
No, it won't ruin your shot, but it may make you a little less effective. One of the things that we really like is having an arc that follows kind of like a parabola. I think that's the right term. And that parabola is going to be an arc like this that ends up giving us, in fact, it starts the same way, ends up giving us an angle of attack toward the basket of about 45 to 55 degrees. Now, we can't measure that, and so we just kind of have to learn how to do that. And if it goes into an arc that is like a bell curve looks like this. And usually when you shoot with the higher arc, that ball tends to be short of the basket. And so we kind of like that sweeping parabola at a 45 or 55 degree angle, I lost my thought there.
Well, here's what I would add to that too, is it will not make your shot better to have too high of an arc, because think about this. If you're shooting with more arc, you're increasing the distance that the ball has to go, number one.
Yeah.
And so the ball is going to have to travel further, which adds another variable. So things can degrade there. You're essentially shooting a further shot if you're having too much arc. Right. Number two is, if you have too much arc, you also are kind of adding more energy to the ball as it hits the rim as well, instead of having the kind of optimal arc where kind of the proper amount of energy will be expended and it will stay around the rim. Whereas if you shoot it with this huge arc, as it comes down, it's going to hit the rim, but it's going to have a really huge rebound. That is another variable. So when it comes to variables, you want to have kind of the optimized arc, and that takes a little bit of kind of like your own approach to developing your shot.
Sure.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I might just throw out here too, that study we talked about a while ago where they were talking about rotations of the ball, et cetera, also had another element, and that element was the optimum angle of attack on your shot. and what that does for it. And their recommendation on their study recommended 45 to 50 degrees. And so that's right in line with kind of what we feel anyway. Okay.
Yeah. And you know, the other end of the spectrum is if your shot is too flat, it's going to see much less of the actual rim space that it can use to go in the basket. So, I mean, if you're the ball and you're looking at the basket, if you have a flat shot, the rim is going to look like this, and you can't use the front part of the rim here to go in because the ball will not fit there. It can only fit in back here. But as the arc is higher, the rim will start to look more like that, and it'll have more usable space for the ball to go in.
Exactly right.
But the trade-off on that is that eventually it gets to the point where it's too high and it's going to be a longer shot. It's going to be harder for you to be accurate.
Right.
Okay. So you got to find that sweet spot. Let's see. This one is from Mock Ding in the chat, who says, is having low blood pressure bad for you to play starting center? I don't think low blood pressure is good for you to have anyways.
Yeah, right.
So that's something you need to talk to your doctor about.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
But yeah, we would say get that checked out. Jack Tang says, hi, at home I shoot on an 8-foot hoop, but in games the hoop is 10 foot. Do you think that me shooting on an 8-foot hoop will disturb my shooting consistency?
I think you adjust to those things.
I think you and I have slightly different opinions on this.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I think. I think that by having shooting a shorter basket probably affects it somewhat, but you immediately adjust after a short period of time when you go to a higher basket. So I don't think that's a major thing of concern. Go ahead.
Okay. So I think that, yes, you will have a period where you will have to adjust. And I think that that's maybe a little bit longer than I think that you think it is, but whatever. Still, you're going to have that period of time where you have to adjust. Are you shooting on this hoop and then you have a game later in the day that's on 10 foot? I think that's not enough time for you to have a consistent shot on the 10-foot shot or 10-foot hoop. The other thing is that if you're shooting on an 8-foot hoop, you are not going to have the ability to really gauge what is the right arc for that shot because it's going to be different. You also are going to probably have a flatter shot if you go and you start working on a regulation size basket because you're used to shooting at a basket 2 feet shorter. So I don't think it helps you. So my thought on it is if you can change it to a 10-foot hoop, I would do that immediately because that's going to help build up your muscle memory and make it an easy transition for you. If you're stuck using an 8-foot hoop and that's all you can do, then that's kind of all you can do. But I would try my hardest to find a place or change the basket that you have and move it to a 10-foot height.
Or move to another place. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you got to figure it out. But 8-foot hoop, it's not optimal. Let's just say that. Lance Boss is saying, can you please say, hey, Manuel? Hey, Manuel. This is a long one. Oh, boy. Okay, I'm going to try to tackle this one and not make it super boring, but this is from DBZ Strike Ace 123, who says, hey, Coach Tom and Coach Casey, I changed my jump shot about 2 months ago because I was getting blocked way too often. My old jump shot was very accurate, and I used to hit a lot of shots, but as I said, I was getting blocked way too often simply because I didn't jump high enough. I used to barely even jump, and probably because I used to stretch out my hand way further than I should when I released the ball. After I changed my jump shot by jumping up a lot more and removing the stretch thing, I stopped getting blocked and my close range, mid-range shooting improved a ton. But what suffered was my three-point shooting. Before, I used to be able to hit 10 out of 10 threes in practice. I don't know about that. These past few months, I've only been hitting about 2 for 10, 5 to 10, sometimes 6 for 10. But that's if I'm really lucky. What can I do to become a good three-point shooter as I used to be before? Okay, here's what I want to say before you even say anything, is that if you're getting blocked way too often on your shot, it's probably not because you're not jumping high enough or you're not getting your shot isn't fast enough.
Right.
What it is that you're not creating space. You're not getting open enough or moving without the ball and getting open enough. You're not using the ball and dribble attacks and offensive attacks to create enough space. If somebody can jump up and block your shot, and they do, that wasn't a good shot.
Well, it wasn't an open shot for sure.
So that would be my first suggestion to you if you're in that situation, is not necessarily change your shot, but change your approach to creating space, because that's really where your problem is on that. if there was a problem with your shot, like let's say your shot was flat, or you had a dip, or you were doing something that isn't optimized for shooting mechanics, then I would say, yeah, go ahead and change that. But if it's just because you're getting blocked, it's because you're not creating enough space. And if you're trying to create space by out jumping the other guy, that is a formula for no go, because
Yes, absolutely.
you're never really going to be able to get the edge there unless you can just jump out of the gym. And even then, it's still a contested shot if the guy is right there. And if you look at players like let's say Larry Bird, or even Steph Curry,
Yeah.
these are guys that are not getting super high off the floor. And Steph Curry, I mean, he's not only is he not jumping super high off the floor, he's 6'1" on a good day. You know, I mean, they list him as 6'3", but that's with shoes on and stuff. But you know, he's 6'1" going up, and he's making these shots with guys guarding him that are 6'7", 6'8", and you know, he's not out jumping them at all. He knows how to create space. You look at a guy like Larry Bird. You know, he's 6'9", but he's jumping this high off the ground, literally on every single shot. So it's really about how you are crafty in your mind and your execution of attacks and creating space and moving without the ball, right?
Yes, it is. And jumping higher is not the answer for you either. Then right down here on your last question is, what can I do to become a better three-point shooter as I used to be before? Well, if it's a jump shooting, then well, we don't know really what the problem is, except you keep getting blocked. And if you're getting blocked from the three line, then the shot is not there for you in the beginning. And like Casey said, the key to all of that is creating space, or recognizing space when you can get the shot off. And some people have difficulty with that.
I would say go check out our video called "What's a Good Shot."
Exactly.
Check that out. And also, the last thing we'll say on this question, because it was a long one, is that if you are trying to develop your shooting to a deeper range, what you want to do is progress back. You don't want to just jump back and you know, your money at 5 feet and then jump back and do 19.9 and wonder why the problem is that you can't make those shots. The problem is that you didn't work your way back to get there. And so the muscle memory is not there. The strength, the innervated strength is not there. You haven't put in the work. So work on mastering the close shots. So you're working at 4 feet. You take a step back. You're working at 5 feet. Take a step back. You're working at 6 feet. And you work your way back progressively. You master each range as you move around the basket. Eventually, you'll get back to 20 feet, and you'll be able to shoot that shot without your mechanics degrading, because you're not heaving the ball. You've actually developed the strength. You've innervated the muscles. Everything is in place. Your shot is the same as it was from 5 feet, at 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet. It's all the same, right? And if your shot is the same, you can make it consistent, which will make it repeatable, which will make it accurate. And that accurate means it went in the hoop.
It went in the hoop.
Okay, this one is from Siobhan Davis, who says, I missed on making Jamaica under 17 team. Coach told me I was better than some guys on the team, but was too skinny for the small forward position. Any tips to help me increase my weight? Okay, we've talked about this already. If your skills speak for themselves, then it doesn't matter what you weigh or anything like that. And also, don't worry about playing positions. That's one of the problems probably right there, is you probably came in thinking you're going to play the small forward, or the coach, you know, he eyeballed you and thought you were going to play that. But if you can do all the things that a basketball player can do, if you can go down in the post and you can play and know how to do all the post moves, you can rebound, you can box out, all of that, but you can also step out to the perimeter, you can attack the basket, you can shoot, you can distribute the ball, you can play defense, then you are going to be undeniable. And the fact that you're skinny shouldn't be even an issue.
Well, and you have no control over what the coach is thinking there too. And by the way, it'd be my opinion, without really seeing the situation, that's not a very fair evaluation of you as a player, if in fact that's what he felt.
But the other thing too is that
there are a lot of different kinds of players that play this game. There are guys who are really thick. What is that big guy, baby
Glenn Davis, big
Glenn
baby.
Davis, he weighs probably
He's over 300 for sure.
and he's what's about 6'7", 6'8", something like that.
I don't know.
He's huge. But then you look, and here's this other guy who is built like a really thin guy, and he competes just as well as the other guy does. In fact, sometimes better than he does. So,
well,
I'm sorry that your coach took that point of view.
Here's the other thing that I will say is that coaches, they're going to have opinions as well. And you know, a lot of times these coaches that do these select teams or whatever, or college coaches occasionally, they look at people first in the packages that they see. So it's like, okay, that guy's 6'7", he can fit there. He's 6'8", that guy'll do this and that guy'll do that. You have no control over that.
Right.
Every body is different. And you know, the fact of the matter is that you need to get out there and be able to play and have your skills speak for themselves, and you could fit into any position that will put you in a better place.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing is that occasionally there'll be teams that you try out for and it just will not work and it will not be a good fit. And so you shouldn't play on that team. And maybe that was the case on that under 17 team.
Right.
Whatever, move on, develop your skills. Maybe next time or the next team, you'll be ready to play for them. Absolutely. And have a different approach.
Absolutely.
I just think, I don't know. I'm one of those guys. I'm in the gym all the time. I'm, you know, way bigger than most people that are my height just because of the fact that I work out. And I just don't think that it is a payoff for guys to spend so much time in the gym doing that when they could be working on their skills instead. Because skills, if you spend the time that you work on the gym on developing your skills, the skills are going to pay off way more than added 20 pounds of muscle. It's like, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many guys that if you use your mind and leverages and you're crafty, that stuff doesn't even matter.
Right.
I mean, I could go box out a guy that outweighs me by 60 pounds and I would still be able to get the rebound because I know how to do it.
Yeah.
And I know how to use the technique. And what am I going to do? I'm going to go in the gym and try to gain 60 pounds. I mean, that would make me, 300 pounds. I just couldn't do that. So that should be your approach too. Maybe you only weigh 150 pounds, but what are you going to do? Are you going to go in the gym and gain 60 pounds of muscle? Is that really going to help you as opposed to you learning how to box out a guy or use a shot fake or something like that? Those things are way more effective. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, rant over for now. Let's see. And good luck on trying to make your next team. I think that if you have an approach of just being a great player all around, you'll have a better attempt. This one's from Abhishek Samuel, who says, "Hey guys, do shoes really matter that much? I play point guard and prefer flexible shoes, but are rare to find. Should I bother wasting time to find flexible shoes or just play with anything? Keep up the good work." Well, okay. Shoes do matter, but not in the way that you probably think. They matter in terms of you finding ones that are comfortable and do the job.
Absolutely.
Not the ones that cost $300 because, LeBron put his name on it or whatever. That is one of those misconceptions that those are the better quality shoes. Those are the more marketed shoes. And a huge portion of that goes to whichever player it endorsed, his agents, the company that puts the shoe out. But if you find shoes that are comfortable and work for you, that's going to be the best shoe.
Absolutely.
No shoe is going to make you run faster, jump higher, play better, but comfort is a huge thing. So you need to get comfortable shoes that work for you.
And are stable. Because stability when you're using the shoe is really important.
Well,
that's protecting joints.
That's what I mean. That factors into kind of the comfort. But yeah, you'll find shoes that cost $100 that are way better than the shoes that cost $300 in terms of the way they feel on your feet and your ability to play in them.
Right.
And the other thing is too, shoes break down. Yeah. So after 2-3 months, especially if you playing a ton, those shoes are pretty much garbage.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody out there is going to go spend $300 every 2 or 3 months on shoes. But if shoes only cost $80 to $100, maybe that's something where you're able to invest in that every 2 to 3 months, and it's going to be better for your feet, better for your joints. And I think that that's so much better than lining the pockets of these huge companies that might not necessarily be thinking about you in terms of your health and wellness. Anyway, another rant. Geez, I got to get over this. Okay, this is from Johnny Burrick, who says, how to do a reverse layup. That's hard to explain in like a quick talking question, but the fact of the matter is that you typically have to take one more step, right?
Right.
As opposed to just a regular layup. You need to extend that arm out, and you need to hit the target box in the sweet spot, just like you would on the other side.
Probably one way to deal with this is to direct him to finishes at the rim, because we have that finish where we go under the basket and lay it back, and that probably would describe it pretty cleanly for him.
Yeah, so check out Finishes at the Rim.
Finishes at the Rim is the name of that video.
Okay, this is from Kulando Cruz. He says, my wrist tends to flick inward, and it's good in the first half, but I get tired and it goes back to being sloppy. Basically, fatigue in my arms almost erases my form and follow through. All right, he said the word.
Flick.
Yeah, so maybe you missed the first part of the show, but we talk about the fact that you should never flick your wrist. And maybe one of the reasons why you're getting so fatigued and tired is the fact that you are flicking, because that is so loaded with tension. I mean, look at that. I can feel it in my arm. It's just, I'm already tired. But the thing is that what you want to do is have that nice flop finish. So your hand is very relaxed. Everything is very relaxed. And you're saying about flicking inward or whatever. If your finish is going inward or outward, pronating, supinating, whatever, that is where the ball is going to go.
Exactly.
Right? So you want to finish directly to the basket with that nice flop finish. So give that a try, and I'm sure that you will be in better shape. Sorry, I was reading before I was finished. This one is from Robex567. When are you going to restock the t-shirts? We have new t-shirts coming up right away. We're actually putting together an online store for that stuff. So we'll have new ones soon. Probably have some contests and stuff for you guys around new shirts. Okay. Here's Johnny Burrick again saying, I want to jump high enough to not get blocked. Don't worry about that. If you do things like create space, move without the ball, use shot fakes, you will be in much better shape than trying to out jump anybody.
Yeah.
She or Shy the Dreamer says, what is your idea of a perfect shooting form? All of my coaches tell me I have perfect form, but they also say I need to work on jumping higher while I shoot. I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Jumping higher on a jump shot, you can only jump as high as you can jump. And then what is more important,
and hold on, and then you add tension the more that you try to out jump yourself.
Absolutely. And the tension, your body's just so tight. And you probably your shot just really goes in the bucket right away. No matter what your coaches think, this is how we feel about it. What makes more important, or is more important in your shot, is finding a situation where you can create space for you to get the shot off at your normal height. Oftentimes people will ask us, how high should I jump? Well, you jump to a height that's comfortable for you, because you can't jump any higher. If you do, the whole body tenses up.
Right. And our idea of perfect shooting form, I mean, go look at our channel.
Our videos,
we think that we put out stuff that is kind of what we think is the perfect shooting form. But, if you're looking for people out there, I would say Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are right at the top of the list. And it's not just because we're from the Bay Area. It's because those guys, they have it down. But not from a standstill. I think when they're moving and catching the ball and going off the dribble, I think that's where it is the best. Okay, so we are running out of time, and I totally didn't notice it. So let's do a quick lightning round of like 3 questions. Okay.
All right.
Let's see here. Apoc says, what are arm sleeves for, and does it matter to wear them? They are completely unnecessary. The only thing that they really do is they keep your joint warm or your muscles warm. Maybe that has some slight effect, but it's not going to make you a better shooter.
Yeah. It's just like wearing headbands.
Yeah, I mean, it's a style choice for most of these guys.
It's a style statement. Yeah.
Some of the NBA guys have pads and stuff in there. That's because they're playing some pretty brutal basketball. You probably don't need to worry about that.
Yeah.
Christian McDonald asked, do you think a post player could pull off some guard moves? He better be able to.
Yep.
Let's see. We got to make the last one a good one here. Okay. there's somebody, Felipe Gonzalez Webb is asking about injuries and stuff like that. You need to talk to your doctor about that stuff and healing properly and playing through it. You never want to play through an injury that is going to hurt you down the road. You need to talk to a doctor immediately and figure that out.
Yeah. And we're not doctors.
Yeah. And just like, Klay Thompson getting the concussion and stuff like that, that's not something you want to play through. You have to go to a doctor and get that evaluated, because that could affect you for the rest of your life. Absolutely. And that's way more important. So get that figured out. Okay. Last question. Here's from Dawson Lowe, who says, "Hey coach, do you have any tips on how to keep your arm tucked into your shot? It feels awkward and it always comes out when I shoot." Yes. Well, are we thinking the yoke?
Well, that, and we're also thinking about the fact that you create that elbow in situation during your form shooting drill. That's what the form shooting drill is all about, is taking those different elements of the shot, whether it's elbow in, you want to get it in, or whether it's the follow through on the shot. All of that is an important part of the form shooting drill. That's what I would recommend for you there.
Here's what I would say, and I agree with you on that. But in terms of like mechanics, here's some things that you could do. One of those is that don't force your arm in. No. Don't want to do that. You want to have that slight turn to the basket towards your shooting side. And then also, it's okay to have your arm a little bit out, a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine. That's not okay. That's fine. But you don't have to get it right jammed in under. No. It's really what's more comfortable. It's probably right here. The other thing is that you don't want to force your hand behind the ball like that. Everybody wants to get their hand like directly behind. You don't need to do that. If you have your hand so that it forms this Y, when have my shot in the shot pocket right here, I can see that there's a Y formed by my thumb and my index finger and my arm. So if you guys see it, it's going to look kind of like this, right? And I don't have to jam my hand behind like that. It's going to be more like that. And as you go up, your hand is going to naturally turn over and kind of find the spot that it needs to be on the ball. But you don't need to force anything, because that adds tension. So just kind of work on the yoke, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I think that's going to do it for us today, you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the live show. Please go out, tell your friends and family to follow us and check out our live shows. If you want to follow us, you can follow us on Twitter. We are at Shot Science, Facebook, Google+, on YouTube. We're all Shot Science there. Follow us and subscribe. You can check us out on Instagram, and make sure you follow us on Snapchat, because we're doing stuff there every single day. We want to thank you guys for being here. And if you have questions during the week, you can find us on all those places. Right. Ask us there. If there's a YouTube video that we've put out that kind of is related to your question, post it there, because we're typically going to be able to find it better if it's like that. And I guess we will see you guys next week, 1 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday. All right.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Thanks.